Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Hello, you're welcome to today's edition of Money Radio on Leadership Podcast. Money Radio is a program that brings you the latest developments in Nigeria's business and economy cycles and issues of businesses around the world. My name is Innocent Odo, and today we are talking agribusiness. And our focus today is on creating job opportunities through food processing for the teeming young Nigerians. And I have in the studio with me two gentlemen who will help do justice to this very important topic. I have to my right, Kes Hammond. Kes, you're welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
I also have Paul Wadima. Paul, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now, gentlemen, let me begin on this note. In just a couple of days, Nigeria will mark its 61st independence anniversary. And in some of the sectors we're all looking at, the agricultural sector has been very, very paramount in the development of the country in the last 61 years or thereabout. And so, talking about the development of the country, let me ask you just a brief thought on Nigeria at 61 as it concerns agriculture before we go into this main topic. Nigeria at 61.
Yeah, thank you very much for this very important question. You recall that at independence in 1960, Nigerian economy was basically an agri-based economy. We talk about the cocoa in the west, talk about the granite pyramid in the north, we'll talk about the palm oil and palm produce in the south, in the east. The three main regions of the country at that time, including even the Midwest that came up in 1963, they were all regions that depend on agriculture to run their affairs. And you can see most of the things you are seeing in the country today, especially things established in the immediately after independence, the University of Nigeria, the University of Ibadan, the University of Ahmadu Bello, all are the results of investments, of benefits of investment in agriculture. Most of the things that the founding fathers of this nation did was to act on their comparative advantages. You know, they act based on their comparative advantage. The North has a comparative advantage in granite produce, the East in palm produce, in the North, the West in cocoa, and they capitalize on it to generate development at that time. Unfortunately for us, shortly after our independence, we had crude oil development in Nigeria. This is a sort of diverted attention of our leaders from investing in agriculture. We would have been gone far in agriculture, and only God knows where we would have been today if we had been concentrated in agriculture, even as we take advantage of our crude oil deposits. So basically, agriculture is the foundation of Nigeria after independence.
Agriculture is the foundation of Nigeria after independence. And one aspect of it is where we may have been having some challenges now, Kes Hammond, is in the area of food processing. And I understand that is a very big area where, if properly managed, can create the needed job opportunities for the Nigerian youths who are desperately looking for jobs, especially now that the economy is not looking too bright. So how then do we maximize this opportunity that is given to us to process our food into different varieties that will be to the benefit of the consumer?
Yeah, just before I get to that point, I want to add to what Mr. Waldman mentioned. You know, agriculture is the foundation of Nigeria's strength. Let me put it that way. If you recall, one of the things that drew the Europeans to this part of the world was palm oil. Yes, palm oil. Even up to today, we have one of the things drawing the Europeans to this part of the world, not limited to Nigeria, although it's cocoa. Cocoa. We have pre-independence era. We have been producing this, but we have not added value, and that gives strength to the topic we are discussing today: food processing. We haven't been adding value to the foods that we produce. Look, palm oil. Let's just look at palm oil, for example. From the palm fruit, you can get at least up to 15 products. You can get oil. Do you know that ice cream is made from? Yes. There are so many things, and not just what we eat, the palm oil that we eat, which is so nutritious. But there are so many other things. Even that palm tree, there are so many things that we can get from there. But we haven't been able to process any of these things to add value to what we are producing. Cocoa. The cocoa industry is worth more than $120 billion globally. This part of the world produces the raw material, cocoa. The production of that raw material is worth just about 12 billion out of 120. That means we are having just about 10% of the value of that product. So it all boils down to value addition, processing. We haven't been able to do that. I must say, we have failed. At 61, we are still importing palm oil. 2019 to the tune of $99 million. We imported palm oil into this country.
Palm oil byproducts.
Palm oil byproducts. Yes. But just the palm oil alone, $99 million. And we're talking about foreign exchange. So we haven't been able to add value. So back to the issue we are discussing, adding value. What must we do? We need to have basic infrastructure in place. And once we have those infrastructure, look, from the production stage all the way to the end product stage or the final consumer stage, we need to add value. And some of the value that have been taken away from our production include what we use to produce the fertilizer, how much is it used to produce. All of those things impact or have an effect on the quality of the fruit. You remember not long ago, it was on the news where the federal government announced that 76% of Nigeria's food export are actually rejected when it comes to this issue of processing. Yes, storage. Storage has to do with electricity. You have to store these products using electricity. Storage facilities are not there. Then the packaging and all of that. And it may interest you that our neighbors are doing better. Our neighbors are doing better. So the topic we are discussing is fitting, and we are in good company to discuss it.
Oh, yes. I'll turn it over to you, Paul, once again. And I had an experience recently when I visited the High Commissioner of a certain Asian country in Abuja here. And he told me that in his country, the palm oil that we see, they actually process palm oil. They remove something like vitamin from palm oil, that they also sell to pharmaceutical companies to manufacture some drugs, which is also part of the process of that particular product. Now, you have in Nigeria, for instance, this is a rainy season. We produce a lot of food and vegetables and other items that are seasonal. But then, if during the off season, some of these things will become scarce, and we do not have a processed version of it that can be used to add value, what exactly is militating against Nigerians or the Nigerian government investing in this particular aspect? The way they invest in infrastructure, for instance, I am thinking that it is even better to invest in this particular area that will lead us to industrialization, more than what we are seeing in road infrastructure, for instance.
Yeah, that's another good question. But the issue is that government may not be directly involved in in food processing, but they can provide the enabling environment. Because the food processing sector must be taken seriously. Let me tell you why. Because if you, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization, post-harvest waste in Nigeria is worth 9 billion annually. These are approximately 3.5 trillion naira. This is a huge amount of money being lost. And this is happening at a time when the cost of production of agriculture is very high. If you factor in the cost of labor, the cost of seedling, the cost of land, the cost of irrigation facilities, the cost of fueling the machine to pump the irrigation facilities and all that is huge. And after producing all these things, and the products are wasted. So that is why there is a need to have strong food processing industry in Nigeria that can take advantage of the produce that are coming out from our various farms so that they don't waste. That is a very important and very veritable area where people can invest. It's left for the private sector to see the money in investing in it. We waste a lot of tomatoes during their season.
Yes.
We waste a lot of groundnut during their season.
Oranges.
We waste a lot of oranges and all manner of fruits. We waste them during their season. But if we have industries that can take advantage of them, processing them during their season, having storing facilities to store them and use them when they are needed, this will encourage the growth of agro-based industries. It will lead to creation of jobs for the teeming use of the country, and it will also encourage farmers to produce more. If you're a tomato farmer and you discover that most of the tomato you produce they get wasted, you get before you get to the market, and sometimes these markets are very far.
Yes.
Somebody taking tomato from Sokoto to Lagos, maybe before he got to Lagos, the whole thing is gone.
Yes.
You know, the means of transportation need to be improved, and because there are no companies or organizations that can process them, he is forced to sell it, often as a giveaway price.
Yes.
Sometimes these farmers, they borrow money to invest in agriculture. You know, when they sell it at a giveaway price, they may not be able to pay back their loan. That's why a lot of farmers are in debt. So this is very important. There is a need for Nigerian business people, industrialists, to see the advantage in investing in the agro processing opportunities that are abound in this country.
Yes, indeed, there's a need for the business owners to look into this sector because opportunities are abound in it, just like you said. But then, Kes, you see, when this particular sector is very important, and I'm thinking that the Ministry of Agriculture of the federal government and even that of the states should actually have a harmonized pattern in which they will encourage this type of this sector, even if the private sector concern is not readily available. I'm thinking that first the government should actually put, like you said, enabling environment, also encourage farmers, maybe by way of subsidy, in this sector. So what do you think that the government can do?
Yeah, just the other day, yesterday we were discussing this. The federal government, the Buhari administration has been generous to the education sector in the sense that we have a new education policy. And just the other day we were talking about it, and we were suggesting that the extent that education policy to the agricultural sector, because if you look, these are at least two out of a few of the most important sectors in any country. Once if you don't have food, you not only you are poor. In fact, if you don't have food, because food ensures that you have good health.
Yes.
Good food ensures that you have good health, and you become stronger and to produce other things. So, like he mentioned, $9 billion worth of waste every year. And in all of this, look, go to the villages. Go to the villages. If the federal government can only provide, just when you talk about enabling environment, we're talking about just things like farm to market roads. Those alone will enhance.
All right, we've been talking about opportunities for job creation in food processing for Nigerian youths. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the discussion. Please don't go away.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it now is my very special pleasure and privilege to ask His Royal Majesty, the Sultan of Sokoto, the chairman or chairperson of the leadership group, to come forward and join me and hold on to one bit of this cloth so that we can jointly unveil the bigger, better, deeper le vogue.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are on Money Radio discussing job opportunities through food processing in Nigeria. And Paul, before we went on that short break, there was something you said that was really very striking. And there are about $9 billion, worth of food items wasted as a result of lack of capacity for processing in the country. That's a huge amount of money to be allowed to waste. And that is why, Paul, we need that enabling environment that you said, we talked about. But how do we create such enabling environment? What is now the role of government in creating this enabling environment? Is it through investing in processing plants, or giving the farmers subsidies, or trying to also harness their resources to help them process it on their own way? If the farmers don't have the capacity to do that, can the government in any way help them to do so?
Well, the enabling environment comes has different dimensions. If you provide power to the farmer or to the companies that are interested in processing agri-produce, you know that they will have enough power to preserve tomatoes. They have enough power. They don't have to use their own generator to preserve the agri-produce. Are you getting it? So that's the kind of enabling environment government should do. Provide constant electricity. Ensure that those who are interested in agribusiness are given a single-digit interest rate. There is a need for CBN to collaborate with state governments so that they can provide, funding for this type of investment. If the commercial banks are not ready to give out loans under single-digit interest rates, those are the kind of thing that government can do. And then there's need to make sure that the roads are good, because sometimes transportation of agri-produce from the farm to the market and all that is another problem that needs to be addressed. That's a job that government is left for government to do, to provide roads, good roads, And even the facilities that government has provided before, they maintain it, like the silos. You know, we have silos already. There's a need to make sure that they are in good order, and that some perishable items need special facilities, which are not provided by the silos that government presently provided for grains. Tomatoes, vegetables, they need to be preserved in a particular temperature. Yeah, are you getting it? It's not the same thing with you want to preserve rice and other grains. So these are the kind of things that government should get involved. And then the private sector, they need to see the benefits in investing in this type of because we are talking about something that is worth over $9 billion. So you can imagine what this country will benefit from making sure that such waste is turned into a very productive goods that Nigerians can buy and even export. So it is very important that government provide an enabling environment, and then there is also the need for those who want to invest to look at this place, this sector as very, very profitable sector, that they will have constant supply of raw material.
Yes, indeed.
You make a point there, Mr. Paul. Creating an enabling environment. With limited resources, there are things government cannot do now, but there are things that government can easily do now. Sorry, sir. Look at tomatoes there. Imagine somebody transporting tomatoes from the north to Lagos, and along the way, because a law enforcement officer wants some tip or some bribe and he can't get it, he keeps that truck that is transporting the goods to Lagos for up to 10, 12 hours in the heat. What do you expect? Those goods are going to perish, of course. Then we talk about roads also. Sometimes the roads leading from those farms to the market, the amount of the value of goods or the value of agricultural products that perish every year. I can assure you that what contributes to that loss, one of the things that contributes to that loss is bad roads. The roads are bad leading from the farms to the markets, and those are things that the government can easily tackle and make sure that there is smooth movement. Look, if there is no transportation, is the oil of the economy, of any economy. Just like if you don't have oil in a vehicle, that vehicle is going to crash. It can hardly go anywhere. The oil of any economy is transportation. We need to make sure that the rails are not yet covering all of these villages. At least the pickup trucks or the trucks that are taking them should have smooth movement, unhindered movement. But once those things are not available, which of course some of our law enforcement officers, the bad ones, contribute to, it's going to be difficult. And all of these things contribute to the loss that we are experiencing. So the federal government should be able to at least tackle these things from that base level before we go to the issue.
Okay. There's something you also mentioned earlier, which should, if properly harnessed, will give Nigeria the competitive edge in this particular sector, which is, of course, the experience we had in the past, not properly processing our food items before taking them abroad, and they were rejected. And of course, having been rejected, we were still struggling to capture that kind of market that we once desired to capture. Only one wonders how much we may have lost, in billions as a result of the fact that we have failed to, capture some foreign markets that desire our processed goods, because we have not been able to do that.
Yes,
I don't know whether I can quantify that in the billions, that because
of course
the figures are really scary.
Billions. Not only the losses in terms of cash, foreign exchange. We talk about losses in terms of employment also. Look, I speak to some family members and friends in the US, and they tell me that, oh, yesterday I ate banga soup. Uh, Today I'm eating banga soup. Of course, egusi is one of their delicacies. They're also from Nigeria. But when they say I ate or I'm eating banga soup today, what are they talking about? On the can of that banga, according to them, you see, fabriqué en la Côte d'Ivoire, made in la Côte d'Ivoire. They export palm products, that banga paste or whatever you call it, which we boil to make the banga soup. They export it to the US and they make money out of it. Ghana is exporting cocoa to Japan. Of course, Ghanaian cocoa is one of the highest qualities in
That's processed cocoa.
processed cocoa. I'm not just talking about raw cocoa. Processed chocolates. Let me put it. Chocolates. Ghanaian chocolates are some of the highest quality you find around. Now that they have come that level, they have overcome certain obstacles. They are making progress in those areas. These are areas we are losing, and we need to sit up.
We need to sit up, Paul. We'll just have some few minutes to go. And if, just like Kes has said, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, they are now importing our own brand banga in a processed form to the US and other Western countries and European countries. What exactly is militating against Nigeria? That is the biggest country in West Africa, the whole of Africa, with 200 million population, and all the resources that God has blessed us with. Why are we lagging behind in this process?
The summary of it is lack of political will.
Yeah.
Lack of political will. Because there's nothing Cote d'Ivoire is doing that we cannot do. Let me give you a typical. There was a time it was trending that we want to be exporting yam. Of course, they rejected our yam. You know that even right now, yam is affected by insecurity. Normally, preservation of yams are done in the shade, in the farms.
Yes.
Because of insecurity, farmers have now begun to move their yams to their homes. The temperature at their homes are aiding the spoilage of many yams, and it's also contributing to the high cost of yam in the market as we talk. So this is the kind of enabling environment we're talking about. The government should do.
And those are low-hanging fruits.
Yes.
These are things that are
So
doable.
these are some of the things that government can easily handle. Because if you handle security, the farmer who farms yam has no business taking the yam, storing the yam in his house. He would have allowed it to be under shades of trees, the traditional way they do it inside the farms, instead of bringing it home. And they are spoiling at home, adding to the cost and affecting the pocket of the man on the street.
Yes. I don't know if this information I got is true, but I was told by somebody, and the person seems to be a reliable source to me, that some of Nigeria's yams are exported from Ghana abroad.
Yes, that story is probably true.
And
Because I heard it a lot of times.
you imagine what are the Ghanaians doing about our yams that they can export that we cannot do about our yams?
It boils down to the whole thing about processing. Because just like Paul said, our yams were sent abroad and they were rejected. The reason is simple. It was not properly preserved because the processing was very, very, not properly done. And that was why they rejected. So I don't think whether we have even made any attempt to correct that type of error we made, and in order to assure the international market that our products are now better and better processed.
We have not learned to build institutions. Don't forget that this yam issue was trending when Audogo was the minister. Yes. Now he has left. Nobody talks about the export of yam. It appears that Audogo left government and the issue of yam exportation has died.
Left with him.
Left with him. So it's funny. It's just that there is no policy. There is no consistency.
Yeah, that consistency is not there. As if when one government leaves, then the next government says, that one is their own. We are not concerned about that. We are concerned about our own policies, our own goals.
Aldobo is still part. This is part of the APC government, so it's not as if there was a change in government.
It's the whole thing boils down to
the
policy.
land was not returned. Yes,
successor didn't
think that it fit
to continue with that kind of policy.
The whole thing boils down to policy.
Policy inconsistency.
Yes.
Well, policy inconsistency, lack of investment in the sector is really having a toll on this very important sector that we're talking about. We've been talking about creating job opportunities for the teeming youth through food processing that will give us a variety of product for the consumer's choice. And I've been joined in the studio by Kes Hammond, who has also helped with his very thought-provoking submissions on the issues. And also Paul Wadima has also brought his intellectual angle to the issue. And also urging Nigerians to wake up from the slumber, especially now that we're about to celebrate our 61st independence anniversary in a couple of days. Nigeria, this is an opportunity. Nigeria, this is the chance to change the fortunes of the country for the better. And it's on that note that we'll draw the curtains in today's edition of Money Radio. We promise to bring you a fresh edition when next we meet. Goodbye and remain blessed.